Good morning. Another beautiful day in God's kingdom. Today, we're going to take a look at something as we find that God doesn't have a problem calling anybody, regardless of age or status. That is just God. As we find, let's see what the Bible says in the book of John, chapter 6. And we're reading from verse 5. I'll be paraphrasing as I go along. Then Jesus lifted up his eyes and seeing a great multitude coming towards him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread that these may eat?" But he said this to test Philip because he knew himself what he was going to do. And Philip answered Jesus and said, 200 denarii worth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may have even a little. And then one of Jesus's disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, comes over and says, "There is a lad here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish. But what are they among so many?" Then Jesus said, "Make the people sit down." And people sat down, and the next thing that happened was a miracle that we all know. The 5,000 men that were there, obviously with as many women and children, were fed, and they had so much food that the leftovers were enough to fill 12 baskets at the end of the meal. So what do we find here? Barley loaves were kind of like the some of the cheapest kind of meals that you would have in that time. And so this boy was not so rich in terms of didn't come from a very rich home. And then of course it was a child, said this lad here, and this was his lunch. But God called him. He was poor, he was poor or low income, whatever you want to call it. He was a child, but God didn't have a problem calling him. And thank God that boy answered the call and brought his lunch and gave it to the disciples. And before his very eyes, a miracle that I'm sure he would never forget, happened. And that little lunch he found could be stretched in the hands of God, could be stretched to feed more than 5,000 people. What is it that you have in your hand? What is it that you're thinking about yourself? Thinking that you're not good enough, that you're not enough to do whatever it is God is calling you to do. Hey, this is a perfect example for you. Whatever it is God is calling you to do, you are more than capable of doing it. Just start with the little that you have, and that will be more than enough. God bless you. Have a beautiful day.